Hello, I'm sorry for waiting while I invite my guests. So,
Hello?
hi.
Hi.
So, perfect.
Okay, great.
I already invited uh, all three guests,
Perfect.
including you, and I think they should join us any second. I hope so. But hi, Anna. Great to see you.
Hi, Marcus. How are you? Great to see you as well.
So it's like always this time is it's not that early. Usually we talk when it's like in the morning for you, but this time it's like around noon, right?
It's lunchtime. Yeah, it's noon.
Yeah,
So it's
okay,
yeah,
perfect.
we're all wide awake.
Civilized actually, not that early.
Very civilized time. Thank you. Yes, very considerate.
So, okay, I think there's some I have to invite Nicole again. Hmm. It will work out at some time. This is always a bit, if it's with so many guests in one talk, it always takes a bit of time, but it's the same on every platform. So
Yes, the beginning is always, a little bit of patience in getting set up.
one thinks they should have changed this for the better by now. Hey, everyone is here. That's perfect.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hey, so good to see you. Okay, I'll start right here. Hello and good afternoon from Austria, and I think it's like around the same time for every one of you, and not afternoon, or at least not that late in the afternoon. My name is Markus Reindl, and I'm a curator at the Digital Francisco Carolinum as part of the Upper Austrian State Museums. And today we're going to talk about a very exciting exhibition we are currently showing at the Digital Francisco Carolinum, which is our virtual exhibition space on the platform Cryptovoxels. The exhibition is, of course, Poem Equals Work of Art, curated by TheVerseVerse. And with me here today is Anna Caballero from TheVerseVerse. Hi, Anna.
Hi, everybody.
Uh, as well as two of the participating artists, Laila Pizarro and Nicole Tallman. Hi, nice to meet you.
You as
Hi,
well.
everyone.
So this is not the first public talk accompanying this exhibition. However, it's the first here on Instagram. So I would like to especially address some new viewers who have not yet been able to watch the exhibition or are new to the topic or have not even heard of TheVerseVerse, which I really can't imagine by now because like you have been the talk of town lately. Yeah, so Poem Equals Work of Art documents the early days of poetry on the blockchain and explores how new technologies are empowering language artists across many mediums, enabling collaborations and unlocking exciting realms of writerly creativity. This is the short exhibition text I'm quoting here, but Anna, maybe you can introduce our viewers to the exhibition. What can they expect to see when they enter our virtual building?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much, Marcus, not only for today, but for every day that you have been so supportive of our gallery and basically our movement, which is to showcase how poetry equals art, how a poem in and of itself is a work of art, and how Web3 and the blockchain allows us to make manifest the value of a poem as a work of art by making it transactable. Right now, we can exchange it, and we can exchange it just how we can exchange digital art. So it's really exciting. And the exhibition that we curated in partnership with Francisco Carolinum and Marcus is divided into three sections, which is a little bit how we like to present our artworks. On the ground floor of this stunning building in Cryptovoxels that I really encourage everyone to please go visit, we have Algorithmic Authorship, which are a series of works that use generative technology to create poetry. So we have Acemic Poetry, for example, by Sarah Ridgely, that's code-based art, which is designed to emulate her own handwriting. We have Horace Vitier, a French collective who's also doing generative poetry, a GAN language that they developed based on their explorations of nature and Borges. Very interesting work. And then we also have a series of poems called Gen Text, which are up at TheVerseVerse.com, and they use GPT-3 technology to create poetry, to create verse. So they are basically inputted language into a language processing system, and then the output is curated by the poets of the verse and paired with crypto artists. So we have a series by Giselle Flores and Sasha Stiles called Flower Colored Light. We have a series called City Life by Ivona and myself. And then we have another called Seeds and Ashes by Kalen Iwamoto and Rose Jackson. So that's on the ground floor, really interesting works. Then if you go up to the second or the first floor, like you I say in Europe, and you have crypto conceptualism, which is seeks to elevate text-based artists already active as digital artists. So we have the work of, for example, Kevin Abosh, we have Christian Book, we have Pierre Gervois, really wonderful explorations of conceptual poetry. And then on the top floor, we have the art of poetry, which is the section of our gallery where we invite traditional poets, such as Nicole Talman, that we have here with us as a guest, to offer some poems to the VerseVerse, and then the VerseVerse curates these poems and invites crypto native artists to interpret them visually. So Nicole's poem that we have as part of the exhibition was actually curated by a wonderful curator called Linda Dunia, and she did a whole series of works for us, many of which are available on this top floor of the exhibition. And then we also have Laila Pizarro with us, and she was an artist who interpreted a poem by Julie Marie Wade. This was actually curated by the VerseVerse independently. And so we gave Laila the poem, and we paired it with her beautiful watercolors and put them together. So I think, Markus, we could have the artists and poets share a little bit about their experience.
Absolutely, yeah, perfect.
In creating these works.
Yeah, so maybe Nicole, start with you. So it's so before working with TheVerseVerse, did you ever imagine you're writing as part of an Orbit virtual museum exhibition? Is this something you planned?
No, not at all. That's a great question, and I'm so grateful to Anna and the VerseVerse for this opportunity. I am, as Anna said, a very traditional poet, and it was just such a joy to see how my words were interpreted by a visual artist, and to be able to see my work in a virtual space like this beautiful exhibit that you've curated. It's a dream come true, honestly. I'm overjoyed to be part of this. Thank you so much. I'm very, very grateful.
You're so welcome. Did this cooperation change the way you think about writing, or even how you approach it? Is this something you see from a new perspective now?
You know, that's an interesting question. I wrote the poem and then the artist interpreted it after the fact. So I don't know that it necessarily changes the way that I write, but I've always been a very audience-generated type of poet. So I would say that if I know that a poem is going to be interpreted by an artist and used in a virtual space, I might be a little bit more cognizant of length, for example, and format. I'm thinking, you know, some long-winded works may not necessarily be the right platform for this type of thing. But I do think that as I'm approaching poetry in general, I do always think of the audience and what I want the audience to take away from my poetry. So that's not new, but I am always cognizant of the medium that it's going to be presented in. And so I would say that if I do know that something in the future would be paired with an artist, I would probably try to write it in a way that might make it easier for that person to be able to interpret it visually, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So I have one more question about your cooperation, and maybe this question is also a bit for Anna, because maybe you can help me like just understand the process of the pairing of artists, and then also how the dialogue works, if there is even a dialogue between the visual artist and the poet.
Well, in the case of Nicole's works, we handed it over to a curator who then did that whole process of pairing poets and visual artists. In the case, for example, of Laila, it was I actually curated the piece, so I can speak to that on a very personal level. So the poems that I knew would fit perfectly with Laila's are by my mentor, Julie Marie Wade. She's an incredible poet, and her poems they just come from like the womb. They're very just feminine and enveloping. You just feel like you are inside them when you're reading them. And I felt similarly about Laila's works, that they just kind of envelop you, and they're flowing, and they're like almost maternal in this very generous way. And so for me, they just worked really well naturally. Also, the colors were soothing, and Julie's voice, her reading of the poem is so soothing. It's like this trance. So I think there's something just very intuitive about pairing these artworks, and hopefully people who experience them will feel that.
Okay, yeah. Laila, maybe one question for you. So, as a visual and multidisciplinary artist in this project, you just have like the opposite perspective from Nicole, and I have honestly, I had to learn too many new names for this project, because I'm really not out of the field of poetry, and I think sometimes it really showed, and I'm very sorry for that. But to come back to my question, Laila, so maybe you can tell us more about your approach to this project. So coming from the perspective of the visual artist.
Hi everyone. For me, it was I sort of felt like you. I was like, this is so outside of me. I don't understand that. And I came into poetry a few months before because of Anna. I was getting to know her and her poems, and I began to to understand poems and poetry. Before that, I was just like, it's nice, but it's not my thing. And then and we started learning about poetry, and then she asked me, I would like to a collaboration, and she sent me the poems, and I was like, for me, it just blew my mind. I was like, you want my artwork with these beautiful poems? I mean, because to me, poetry and poets, they're like above all the arts, because it's just something that comes from inside, and it was overwhelming, and it was beautiful. I loved it. And when I saw the work together, because we spoke quite a lot to Anna, we're like, with this work, that work, we were back and forth. We had a dinner together. We were just talking like which work. And then when I saw it all paired up, I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, I can't believe my artwork is being presented with these beautiful words and their poems. And Julie's poems, they grab you and they get you to your heart. Like, just like Anna says, that they're so deep. So it was enormous. I still overwhelmed with it, and then being part of the TheVerseVerse and be talking to poets on a chat. For me, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm hanging out with the cool people here. It's just amazing.
We love Laila.
That's so beautiful how you tell this story, and I really can feel your enthusiasm. So this, I guess this is something that really changed your perspective of literature, or is something lasting?
Oh, it changed it completely. I mean, I read a lot, but long stories, but I never really understood poetry until now, because I did it in high school. So it was just all poets that lived a long time ago. I never said what they ate back then. So now I'm listening to this new poetry from poets, the current ones. And I'm like, oh, I could relate to this. I could relate to what they're talking, what they're feeling, what they're doing. So it completely changed my world, and it changed my practice as well. Because now I'm surrounded by artworks that have the letters, and they have something else besides just an image or a pretty tree, just to say. So now my art practice is changing because I want to be more involved with these words and their meaning and their feelings.
So Anna, if nothing else, alone with this, the project would have been successful, right?
Yes, we can go home now.
we also could like finish the talk here, but I think I have some more questions prepared.
I also
yeah, sorry.
No, I just want as the poet and artist they're ready to read the poems too, if at any point.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this would be actually perfect. Now that we have talked about it, it would be great to actually hear something.
Laila, do you want to read answer, and then we can read Nicole can read her poem?
Sure, I'll go. Forgive me if anything doesn't come out quite right, because Julie does it beautifully. I'm just gonna do my best. Here I go. You should know this. There are places I won't go in a poem, doors I won't open, chasms I won't cross. The reason, dear reader, is that there is someone I love more than you, whose body besides mine is more supple than this page. And for all my life, I want my head to be welcomed in her pillow. You see, it's a beautiful poem. It's so gorgeous.
I actually don't know how clapping works here on Instagram, but like...
That was great, Laila. You read it beautifully.
Yeah. I practice.
Awesome. Nicole, do you want to read your poem for Sylvia Plath, please?
You're going to make me follow the great Julie Marie Wade. Wow. Okay, I'm going to do my best. This is the poem that Brooke so beautifully visually interpreted for Sylvia Plath. I want you to know how famous you are. My favorite poem of yours is Tulips, and I also really love Edge, which is credited as the last known poem you wrote, but that's debatable because Ted burned your last journal. That's also debatable. I also want you to know that there's a 1,154-page biography about you called Red Comet, and that your tarot deck recently sold on Sotheby's for $200,000. Can you believe that? Can you believe that some of your fans take a trip to Indiana just to see your braid? You also have a bot that is quite active on Twitter. You probably don't know what that means, but I think you would have liked Twitter and had a lot of followers. I follow Frida on Instagram. You probably don't know what that means either, but she posts photos of her owls, dogs, paintings, and flowers there. Thank you.
I love that. I love that techno-savvy poetic poem. I feel like it. As soon as I read it, I knew it would. People would be able to connect with it. So like in a fun and playful way. That feels very current.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. It's hard to to follow up here without being like a real no. Let's take it like that. One more. I had one more question for Laila, and so it's more like of a kind of a technical question, but as the whole project also has this technical side, I think this is good to connect. So did you ever mint artworks as NFTs? So as you're a visual artist, or would you consider it now after this experience?
I've been I had mint artwork before NFTs, before this experience. I've been in the space for over a year now. It feels like an eternity, but it's really just been a year. And this really is fantastic. I think a lot of people see NFTs as something like different from art. And for me, it's just the community. I get to talk to artists all day and now poets. It's just fascinating.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it has around the time last year was when it like really took off. I mean, it did in small before, but at that time it got huge, and I think it's a bit yeah, like in June 1 year ago we opened Proof of Art, the exhibition, so it's like it has been really it has been some ride. Okay.
I have a question for you, Markus.
Oh yeah.
Tell us how your experience has been in curating the show with TheVerseVerse. I know it's the first time that you have something like this, so I'm just curious. You know, what has your audience shared about it? What are some reactions?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it's also part of it. I really get asked a lot during the past weeks, also here in Linz, by people who I meet at like openings and stuff. So I mean, you know, at first I was worried that this is really not my expertise, but very soon I found out there's a lot I can connect to. Obviously, we have been working with visual art all the time. We have been working with generative art all the time. We have been working with conceptual art all the time. So this part was not new for us, but was really new for me, obviously, was the poetry. And I really put all my trust in you there, you know that. So I didn't try to be someone I'm not. That's that. But I think one interesting part is that so we get so much positive feedback right now, and people are surprised that we're doing this show, and at the same time they ask, but not only in a positive way, and they are like, okay, at which point did you realize that this is something you need to show in this context? And I mean, obviously for us, it's great because it makes us look like visionaries. But in the end, it was just your work and the perfect timing, actually. No, that's that. But as mentioned, it is in the process not that much different. And during the last year, I really got asked this a lot. How do you decide what is good NFT art and what is bad NFT art? But in the end, good art is good art, and you will always know. This is not like it's not that difficult if you do it all your life.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think that you guys, by the way, are visionaries, because you were the first to invite us to do our own exhibit, and you're a really important institution. So I think you took a risk, and we're very grateful. And I'm so happy that people have loved this show. Last night I hosted a panel for the O Miami Poetry Festival. Nicole was one of the members of the audience, and we actually gave a tour on Zoom to the attendees because they didn't know what the metaverse was, right? So we showed them the metaverse by showing them the Digital Francisco Carolinum, like what a museum looks like in the metaverse and what's possible. And we toured every single level and showed all the artworks. And I think it really opened people's eyes to, you know, what's possible in these new digital realms that we're creating. So yeah, I'm really excited that this show is a reality. I also wanted to mention that we have a closing party. We have a closing poetry party next week. The exhibit closes next Friday. And so we're going to have a big Twitter space that we hope a lot of people can join, in which we'll talk about the exhibition a little bit more, and just really invite people to go out and check it out and spend some time in Cryptovoxels.
Yeah, and we are actually currently preparing a video documentation and obviously tons of photos. And we are preparing, or we will start preparing something that is new for us in this digital context. We will do a catalog. This exhibition is really worth it, and we will start preparing like next week. But it will get like really a whole new design by our graphics designer, and I think we will bring not only all the artworks and all the text from the exhibition in, but also some transcripts from the many talks we had. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this project as well. This is something I actually wanted to do for quite some time. It's something that is missing for the Digital Francisco Carolinum, because we try to bring all the part of exhibiting into this project, and the catalogs actually was missing until now. And as you proposed the idea, like a few weeks ago, to do a catalog, we were happy because now we have a reason to do one. Anna, I need to ask some more questions about TheVerseVerse, because we were talking only about the exhibition, but actually I think what this exhibition is also something that was not like, this is not something that was there and you just found it. It is something also you were part of creating. And no, maybe we can just start at the beginning. So how did you just start TheVerseVerse, and what was your first, what was the first thing you did?
Well, TheVerseVerse, it was born, actually, I have to say, in a supermarket parking lot, which in a Publix in America, people will know what a Publix is. It's a big chain, like a Carrefour or something like that. And so as soon as I read about NFTs, I knew that this was the way of getting a poem sort of valued as a work of art. It never really made sense to me, having grown up in and out of Miami in Florida, where Art Basel was such a transformative force in Miami. I really saw how this festival, how this conference, this convention, I mean, it just became sort of bigger than the city itself. Nicole can probably attest to this as well. It really was a transformative force in Miami. And it just felt off that poetry didn't really have a participation in this. And so I really wanted to create a place where the value of a poem is made manifest. And I thought blockchain technology could be the way of doing this. Because really what poetry is lacking is transactability, in the way that, you know, objects, lamps, furniture, almost everything is transacted. In that transaction, the value of it is made manifest. So even though we've loved poetry and have given it sort of a cultural reverence, I think the fact that it wasn't something that people could exchange sort of kept it off of certain areas, including museums, including galleries, where you know I thought it belonged. So I met my two brilliant co-founders, Kalen, Iwamoto, and Sasha Stiles, on Twitter.
Not in the parking lot?
Not in the parking lot. I purchased the domain in the parking lot. Like, the idea for TheVerseVerse came to me, and I'm like, I need to buy this domain. This is it. And so I bought TheVerseVerse.com, TheVerseVerse.io, .xyz, all. So yeah, so nobody get any ideas. They're all purchased. I met these two brilliant writers, and together we co-founded the gallery, and we launched it at NFT NYC in November of last year. It's only been 6 months, but I really feel that, you know, the message, which is a simple message, which is poem equals work of art, has really resonated, Markus, with a lot of people, because it just makes so much sense, right?
Yeah, just was thinking about when I heard the first time about it. I guess it must have been pretty early in the process, because Jesse Damiani told me about it, so who is a common friend. And yeah, that's that feels like about that time.
Yeah.
That time when everything happened.
Yeah. Yeah. When like
Yeah.
everything happened, I
Like,
agree.
yeah, 2021 feels like, looking back, like really was a crazy time. I mean, it still is in parts, especially if you're into generative art or something like that. But 2021, I think you can't match that.
No, no, no. And you know, Marcus, we've been so grateful to have people like Lila and Nicole, and all the other poets and artists sort of believe in us because we were nothing at first. I mean, we didn't even have a website at the beginning, and everyone just kind of believed in the project and entrusted us with their beautiful works. So we couldn't have done anything without all the support of our poets and
You
artists.
you created these 3 sections for the exhibition, which obviously make very much sense. But and all these 3 sections are very strongly rooted in the history of poetry and also in the history of art. But did you, as a collective, work with artists from all 3 sections from the beginning, or was this something that like you started with one and then more showed up and something new was added and stuff like that?
From the beginning, I mean, we had, for example, Pierre Gervoise's work from the very beginning, Merchant Coppola, who also does very conceptual work from the beginning. We had Sarah Ridgely's Asemic generative poetry from the beginning. And we had Lila, for example, and Julie Marie Wade also as part of our inaugural collection. So, you know, we really want to expand the definition of poetry. We think that it's a positive thing for poetry to speak the language of digital audiences. And like Nicole said, have an audience focused approach in the sense that we're not going to change, you know, our values and what we believe a good poem is, but we do think that we can be mindful of how people are engaging online and what they want to maybe see and how much time they have, and sort of address that in a respectful way so that people can engage with poetry, because everyone wins that way, right? If we speak each other's language, then we're in conversation. So from the very beginning, we definitely had all 3 sections, and we're really excited about, you know, the works, for example, of Sarah Ridgely and Horace Vetier that are, you know, they're illegible technically. They're asemic poems, but they're so beautiful. They make you feel like you're reading something. And we think that's very powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have one large block or one large question left, which is always very interesting when talking with artists, because you get so many interesting answers, and that's just what's next, what's coming up, what are your ideas for the upcoming time. So and obviously all of you will be like presenting new work soon, or have recently, as like you had an NFT drop like 4 days ago, Anna.
Yeah.
I just saw it when I returned like from the holidays. So it's like never do an NFT drop again during my holidays, please.
Next time, I'll ask you first, Marcus. I'll make sure you're not on holiday.
I expect this.
Okay. Check with Marcus first. Got it.
Okay, yeah, Nicole, maybe this question for you. What's next?
So I know that Anna's working on pitching some things locally that I'm hoping take off. So I see Anna as a partner in this because she's the person who introduced me to all of this. I don't specifically have my own plans, but I'm hoping that this this project that she's pitched locally will take legs, and that I'll be able to be part of that, because I'd really like, Miami's just a very fertile ground, I think, for blockchain and NFT poetry. We've as Anna mentioned, we have Art Basel, but there are other ways I think that we can help engage as a larger community and generate some more collaborative projects. So I'm very excited to take part in whatever Anna has envisioned next. That's what I'm planning to do in terms of the NFT side of things.
Okay.
I'll mention Nicole.
Yeah,
Nicole is the poetry ambassador for Miami-Dade County. So she works really closely with the local agencies and government there to promote poetry and does an amazing job. So I'm really excited also to work with Nicole on doing something, fingers crossed, maybe during Miami Art Week. We're working on something. Keep you posted.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Lila, what are you working on? What can we expect from you next?
I'm experimenting right now. I'm in a process of with AI, generating images and generating text from my own database from my own photographs, and a training, a gun training that I did with writing, not my own, but an author. So I'm playing around now. Right now I'm just experimenting, learning, making mistakes. Things that come out great, some of them not so good. So I'm in that process, which I find it fascinating, sort of interacting with the AI, just working together with it. I find it fascinating. And then who made the artwork? And that question, I just, it has no answer, but it's really fantastic.
Oh, yes. Okay, Anna, and what's coming up for TheVerseVerse, actually?
We have a lot coming up. And I think in part thanks to you, Markus. Honestly, I think this exhibition really opened a lot of people's eyes, and we've been contacted. We were invited to curate another entire building in the metaverse, which is launching next week for CADAF, for the Crypto and Digital Art Fair. So the works of our gallery will also be on display in this new building in Decentraland, which is exciting. We've been invited to take part in upcoming exhibitions in Paris, in London, in Tel Aviv, actually. So I think that, thanks to sort of this leap of faith that you guys took with the TheVerseVerse, Markus, lots of good is going to come. We're very grateful because we're just going to get, the works of Laila and Nicole and other wonderful poets and artists out into the world, into the real world too, which is exciting as well.
Sometimes I'm surprised as well what a small museum on the Austrian countryside can do.
Yeah. What a little website, could do. It's amazing sometimes how technology can unite us when there's like a little bit of soul behind
Yeah,
it.
and so just that I didn't make anyone here angry. The Austrian state museums are obviously not that small. We have like 16 locations. And I think 240 people working here. So yeah, it's not that small, but it is still in Austria, and we are far from each other, which someone might recognize when we talk about how to name flowers at which times to meet, which was sometimes a problem when you remember. I did not know that you're switching to summertime 2 weeks earlier than we do.
I know, it's impossible. Once you get used to the schedules a little bit, they all change.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you all for taking time for this Instagram talk. Also, a big thank you to our viewers, obviously, and all the people working on this project who did not join us here today. All our viewers, everyone, you can watch the exhibition Poem Equals Work of Art at Digital Francisco Carolinum on Cryptovoxels until April 30th. The web address is cryptovoxels.com/parcels/4650, but you should, of course, also be able to simply click the link here somewhere around below, Instagram profile, I guess. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you all virtually in the exhibition. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank you.